Welcome everybody to episode 88 of Drum Education Live, and today we have Dimitri Fantini with us.
Thanks, guys. I had no idea. 88. That's fantastic. That's you are
That's a lot.
rolling through. That's fantastic. That's like really cool to hear that you've been doing this like that.
Yeah.
I'm pretty far down the list. I'm 88 down the list. So
Not a poll.
Well, it took me a while to get the courage to just send the message and go, could you fancy it?
well, I gotta say, I'm a big fan of what you're doing. I really, I've been noticing, it, with your videos lately. I was like, oh, you got some really good drum mixes going on, and like, I dig it. I dig it.
Thanks. No clue what I'm doing, but
Oh
trying.
yes, you do know.
Little bit. Before I forget, people who are listening, who are watching, please subscribe. Then you're not going to miss an episode. Okay?
You heard her.
Now, he said it too. Now, I'm going to just open with a question about education. And there's so many sources of drum information. There's books, there's Drumeo, there's YouTube, there's all sorts, courses. Do you think there's anything missing from drum education today? And if so, what?
That's a really good question. I do think there are holes in what we typically see in drum education, and that's what I'm. That's kind of my mission, is to fill those gaps myself. Is things that I was so lucky to get growing up when I was taught, when I was learning. A lot of it you'll find out there. I was not taught anything new. I was taught techniques that are 100 years old, and rhythmic systems and ideas that are hundreds of years old. But in particular, I do find that there can be some pretty big gaps in how drum technique is taught, in terms of like specific hand techniques that I just can't find information on. Or when I do find information on it, it's poorly explained. Specifically, the biggest offender that I find is open close technique, which is why I like to teach that a lot, because I was so lucky that I was taught that when I was 11. And if I hadn't gotten that, I don't know where I'd be, to be honest, with like all the information I was given. And it's impossible to find good YouTube instruction on it. It's impossible to find courses on it, all that kind of stuff. It's actually like a huge gap in drum education that I am really passionate about teaching.
Cool.
Yeah.
Who would have thought?
Yeah, well, to be honest, I see, you'll see people teaching these kind of techniques. A lot of like little clips on Instagram, like, hey, here's this technique or that technique, but it's never like fully realized and demonstrated, and it's usually not well played enough, I think, to be like a good example for the next generation. So that's what I'm changing. Like next month is I am creating and launching a huge technique course on like everything I can think of. So yeah, there's so much out there, but there's also gaps in like those foundational steps. How do you go from square zero? Is that a term? Square zero? Step zero?
Yeah.
Square
Let's
one.
say yes. Let's say
Square
yes.
one. How do you go from square
Well, it
one?
doesn't matter. You just created it.
There you go. So square zero. How do you start from nothing and build up a foundation of great technique, including open close technique, Moeller technique, rebound strokes, really controlling your dynamics on a super deep level. I'm building something right now. It'll probably be out by the time you launch this episode. I'm building a course as comprehensive as possible, like explaining this stuff deeply, because I like care about it so much.
Yeah, and I think it's great you're mentioning dynamics, because I think there's a lot of it missing in today's playing. Everybody wants to play louder and faster.
Yeah.
And dynamics are not well explored.
Yeah, I mean, I think how many people are going to be talking about this, so we can brush over the topic. But what do we call it? Like the kind of the trends that are influenced by social media that like affect musicians. It does create things like that, you know. Whereas I remember, I mean, I didn't, you know, that was not around when we were kids, and I was trying to control my ghost notes that are like this high and like getting them exactly precise every single time, and I was just sitting there. I was a kid and I was like, oh no, that one wasn't consistent. Oh, like, you know, like all those little things. They play such a huge part in playing at a professional level, and it's often skipped, you know.
And
So
there's a lot
that's
of
what
gigs that you really need to control your volume, because yeah, ideally everybody would be a drummer in a band playing a stadium in front of 60,000 people, but
yeah.
that's not very common, to be honest. Most
Or
of the
if
gigs, most of the
yeah,
gigs are clubs where you have to play really, really quiet.
there's that, and if you're gonna play on, if you're want to get to the point where you're that stadium level player, you have to be able to play. You have to be able to control your notes at any volume, even if you're supposed to play loud most of the time. Like you won't be able to play loud well unless you can play with complete control. So that's kind of my shtick.
I agree, and I think social media, is like not to badmouth. We can edit this.
We're part of it. We're bad mouthing ourselves.
Well, I was going to say, you know, oh God, what is it? The EAD 10 thing. As much as I really like it, and I follow a lot of drummers who use it, and I love it. I also think it's not showing perhaps the dynamic range that is needed sometimes, and then it's giving an unrealistic and incorrect view of drums.
You know, that's an interesting topic to bring up, which is extremely nerdy, but right up my alley, which is, you know, how we hear drums on a record are not how it sounded in the room at all, which doesn't bother me one bit. I grew up in recording studios. That's what I do day to day is record and produce. And, you know, my favorite thing to nerd out on is like, what do different compressors do to your drum sound kind of thing. But technically, as soon as you put a compressor on your drums, you're bringing up the volume of the quieter notes, and it's not the same ratio, dynamic ratio as when it was played live, and that's okay. That's 100% okay, but it also, I guess, let's say that's an information gap for people listening or taking in recordings, and they don't know that compression was added, right? So they think maybe they would need to play their ghost notes louder to match the record. You should actually know to play them quiet, and the compressor will bring it up after to get actually what you're hearing. Something like that, exactly. With a lot of variables and nuance with it. In like,
since we're shooting our own feet here, let me ask a question. Do you think that all this electronic is having a bad effect on people's technique? Because you know, you have all these things you can do to make the sound of your drum sound amazing, and most people, for example, most of my students, they practice on electric drums, because they live in apartments. Do you think that could be affecting badly the technique?
Well, I think, and I say this as somebody that I spent a good 10 years pretty much practicing exclusively on electronic kits from the age of about 10 to 16. But then even when I got an acoustic kit again, I was still doing tons of practice on electronic kit. You can do so much work on an electronic kit. And so I tell that to all my students, and encourage them to like just get the work in. But you are missing that link of playing an acoustic kit and learning to touch on that instrument. Like that is something. Okay, well, I do have the caveat that I haven't played an electronic kit in many years. Like the kit I practiced on, the one I last played on a lot, was a TD-20 from like the year 2000. So probably it's gotten better over the past 20 years, and I actually just don't have the knowledge that if like that it has in terms of like electronic kit responsiveness. But at least in my experience, you have to get on a real kit to learn touch and sound and articulation on a deep level. So yeah, that does affect things for sure. At least getting, even if you're on an e-kit a lot, then find opportunities to play on acoustic kits here and there when you can. And also, and this was something for me when I didn't have an acoustic kit, I had an e-kit and I had a lot of hand percussion. Yeah, and I actually that's a huge part of my playing on a kit is how I developed playing doumbek and djembe playing as a teenager. That was actually there was times where I played that more than drum set. And so even though I didn't even have an acoustic drum set for several years, I had that, and I was learning touch and dynamics and articulation and just how many sounds you can pull out of one drum. So you can get around having an e-kit. I don't know, get a djembe, get some bongos, rent a practice room with a real kit every once in a while.
That's
you'll learn a lot.
To my students, at least once a month, go to a rehearsal studio and play on a real kit.
Yeah, because there is not really a substitute, but for a good while, you'll be fine. So, like if you're playing an e-kit, it's gonna play back that rim shot sample well. It's gonna play back that sample, but you need to get the practice in on a real snare drum. How are you gonna get that rim shot consistent every single note? And that is something. It's not like it takes a lot of practice, but you'll be missing that unless you put the time in. I used to spend a couple hours like, oh, can I just play rim shot over and over again, same volume, same sound, same spot for like an hour straight? Can you do that? And that's, eventually, that's something that everyone has to take that step if they want to, if they want to step it up.
Can you tell us about your first drum teacher, and do you remember your first lesson?
Yeah, well, I remember every single sentence that was uttered in my first drum lesson. So, I've been playing the drums since before I was a year old, and I was, my parents got me a drum set for my first birthday, little miniature kit and all that. And I got serious about it around the age of 10 or 11. And I was lucky enough to have a handful of lessons from a teacher based out of Philly named Woody Sutton. He himself was taught by Chester Thompson. And so my first drum lesson around the age of 11, he sat me down. He came over the house. He's a monster player. Like, I had seen him play and I was like, holy crap, I want to be able to do that. And so he came over the house. He sat down with me at the V drums, and he broke down every single hand technique I would ever need to know or practice in one lesson. Everything from how to sit at the drums to how to hold a drumstick properly and relaxed. Every single detail of all your fingers. Everything from rebound strokes and ghost notes to open close technique. Actually, I often forget about this part. He taught me like the Johnny Rab one-handed roll in the same lesson. I forgot about that. I don't usually remember that bit. Molar technique, like literally everything in one lesson. One single lesson. I was 11, and I just I wanted it so bad. I wanted to be able to do what he could do, and so I was just focused. I was just laser focused on okay, yes, show me that, okay, and then he would show me how to do this technique. I don't know. He'd show me how to do the molar thing and break down the whole sequence, every movement, and also teach me how to practice it slow. Show me how to put the time in. After the lesson, we walked out of the room. My dad said to me, you were in there for 4 hours. 4 hours. There's no way that was planned. There was no way that my teacher planned on like being in a room with me for 4 hours, but I think I just wanted it that bad. I was like, yes, like I want that. Okay, yes. Now that the next thing and the next thing, I was just wanted to absorb it all, and so that was lesson one. And so I just practiced everything I could. I even remember in that lesson him telling me like, oh yeah, this is like part of what you'll hear Dennis Chambers do or what Dave Weckl does. And I'm not sure even knew the names at the time, but like I sure looked them up afterwards. And so I just practiced my ass off on all those techniques for a couple of years. And I remember a few years later, he gave me another lesson on coordination and foot technique. And how to develop independence against ostinatos, how to do odd groupings, and French grip. That was all lesson 2. And then lesson 3 was some Brazilian rhythms, and that's it. So those were my drum lessons growing up, but they were really, really jam packed. Everything I ever needed to know, and just like, okay, well then I'll practice this for a couple years, kind of thing.
But I'm not only impressed that you stayed 4 hours in the room with him, but I'm also impressed that you remembered to practice afterwards.
It was just kind of like, explain to me, hey, you want to be able to do this like these players, then practice these techniques and practice them super slow and get it absolutely perfect at slow tempos with perfect timing. And step by step all the next ingredients, So I was like, okay, I guess that's what I'm gonna do then.
That's so disciplined of you. Like you were 11.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, my mind's a bit blown. I don't think I would have had the patience.
Well, I didn't. I mean, I didn't put in the hours that I wish I had. I wish I had done like 6-8 hours a day, which I never did. But I guess the hours added up over the years until I felt like, I could, I don't know, keep it going. But, I just wanted it that bad. I was like, yeah, tell me what to do. Tell me what to practice. I'm going to do it. And so I just like put my head down.
Cool.
Wow.
Yeah, impressive. Really impressive.
Well impressed.
At 11, I didn't even play the drums yet.
Same.
And so that's also why I say like, yeah, you get a lot done on an e-kit, on an electronic kit, because that's what I had until I was 16. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not against it. I'm just inquiring.
Yeah.
As a fellow teacher,
Oh yeah.
But I think you touched on a subject that's to me it's very important and very underrated, which is practicing really slow. Because people, oh man, that's a battle I have with my students, because they think they learned the motion and then they want to do it 100 miles an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And
or they want to do it 20 miles an hour, and that's still too fast.
Yeah.
That's what I
Exactly.
teach, when I'm doing my workshops and stuff, is like, no, okay, you got the motion once or twice. Okay, cool. Now don't do it like that. Don't do the molar this fast. Do it like, like so glacially, excruciatingly slow for like an hour. That's the kind of stuff that I try to emphasize, and then most people forget. But it's super important, so I always am trying to emphasize that. But it's also like stuff that, also no one has the patience or attention span to learn that online. That's even harder than in person. It's like, who's gonna sit through a video of me showing that? Nobody. Nobody's gonna sit through that. Or doesn't matter. It just, no one's gonna sit through that ever. So that's something I reserve for teaching in my workshops or in my drum hub or in my courses, because I don't know, maybe I should test that. I'll test that. I'll do an Instagram video that's just 30 seconds of one stroke. Let's see how many people watch it.
Please do that. Do that. We'll share it. We'll we need a hashtag.
We're good.
Can you handle it?
I think the better yet, he does it and then we do it as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
There you go.
Create a trend.
I'm there.
Yeah.
So when did this all start with your courses? I know you've got a book. When did you start teaching? How did that come about?
I guess I started teaching privately, I think around 2016 or so. Um, I moved to this area. I live in Maryland, and started gigging and teaching around here and just like getting that whole thing rolling. And I guess it turned into the online stuff in 2017. And then the funny thing about how like the book came about, is that I was approached by Peisty Symbols about doing videos with them and doing instructional videos, educational videos, which we've now launched that whole series. And actually, the final episode 10, is going to go live in a couple weeks for that whole series. But they approached me about that in, it's years ago, 2019. And I said, yeah, that sounds awesome. Let's do it. And they said that, we want you to create an educational series about how I teach and what my philosophies are like towards playing, which meant now I have all this in my head already and I've had my whole life. Right. But being asked to put that into a package and teach it on camera and everything, I was like, well, I need to start putting it on paper, writing down my ideas and getting them a little bit more digestible, right? Because they're in my brain, but getting them into other people's brain is an art form. So I started a notebook. It's in the other room, of just like, okay, well, what do I want to include in this? And it took me a year of just kind of brainstorming here and there to think like, okay, yeah, I'm ready to do this. And I told them January of 2020, I was at NAMM and I was talking to Tim Shahady, and I said, hey, okay, I'm ready to do those videos. Remember that? Let's do it. And he said, yeah, let's do it. And then COVID happened. And right around maybe February of 2020, I was like starting to properly script the videos and write out how I wanted them to go for Peisty. And it only took me, I don't know, an evening or two of writing. I was like, oh my God, I have so much to write. Oh my God. So I called them up and I was like, I think I'm writing a book. I don't think I started writing for the videos, but I think it's more than that. There's too much I'm writing down. So I had already talked a little bit with Hal Leonard, and so we kind of proposed the idea of doing a drum book with them, and they said yes. And I guess, hell, that was early 2020, so I didn't sign the book deal till that summer or fall. And the actual editing process of the book and making the instructional video to go along with it took a long time. The editing process took a while. So the book launched this spring, and same with the Peisty videos. I think started launching last year or so, or I don't remember. They're kind of like periodic. So yeah, the book happened by accident. And then I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm writing a book with all this stuff. And then let me go back and write the video stuff and plan out what I want to do with Peisty. So it kind of happened by accident, but I was also pushed. That Peisty thing gave me a push to let me go for this. And so that's how it all happened, the book. And then same with course. The courses were just like a natural extension of, well, I was terrible on video. I was terrible talking on video in 2020, early 2020. That's what it was. I was like, okay, well, I'm going to do some videos for Peisty, right? Well, I'm going to put a camera up and teach to the camera and see how it goes. And I put the camera up and started filming, and I just was like, deer in headlights, blank stare. I did not know what to say. I was like, oh, it's like didn't know what to do at all. It was terrible. So I actually took a lesson from an acting coach on just how to speak to an audience or to a camera and emote better and connect more. And I took that one lesson, and that really, really helped me. And then when COVID happened and the studio shut down, I had no work for a couple months. I was like, I don't know what to do with myself. So I'll start making YouTube videos. So I started messing around and experimenting spring of 2020 with just making some education stuff for YouTube. And it took me 2 episodes to get into the swing of it. and then I felt good on camera, and then just kept going and building from there, and just going for it. There's no real plan here. It's all kind of accidental, just falling into all this stuff, you know.
But so you have never thought of writing a book before?
Not until 20. No, I mean, I was writing the book I was writing by accident, because I was writing like just ideas for a video, but I was like,
Yeah,
oh wait,
but
no,
I
this
mean,
is
it was
yeah.
never something like you thought, oh, one day I'm going to write a book.
Well, yeah, I mean, even a friend of mine, a good friend, Alex Cohen, a phenomenal drummer based in New York, he had actually recently released a book, an education book, and he was encouraging me to write one. And I kept saying, no, 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 I want to do these videos first. I want to do the videos. And then when I wrote them, I was like, oh, wait a minute, there's too much here. Like, it's a book. So, yeah, it wasn't even intended.
Cool.
Yeah.
Here?
But it is like
Sorry.
20 years of my drumming and musical philosophies put into that. You know, it just happens, you know, I finally got them on paper instead of in my brain. So it's like I've been writing it my whole life. That's why it happened so quickly. I was like, boom, 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 boom. And, you know, I probably wrote out the majority of the book in a couple of weeks.
Cool.
Because it really, I wrote it in 20 years and then just put it into words on paper, you know, after that.
Nice.
Awesome. Okay, kind of related, and maybe
Yes.
you've answered this, but social media. Like, you've got a really great following and a nice community, I feel, and I wondered, do you ever feel any pressure to post anything? And when did it feel like, I've found my voice on social media, or I found my people?
Those are multiple questions. I mean, have I found my voice on social media? No. But well, sometimes it feels like that, and other times, well, I'm just telling myself now. It's like during my answer to your question is like finding my voice on social media is a bit. That's a false quest, because really you need to just like know your voice outside of social media and just be authentic, right? What was the first question about it?
Pressure.
Pressure.
Do you
I
feel
would
pressure to like post, or
Well, I would say yes, because the fact is I make a living as a creator and artist and educator, which means that connecting with people online is a part of me just being able to make a living, which whether that is getting calls for sessions and tours and or recordings, all that sort of thing, which is most of what I do is, studio production and recording. So whether it's that kind of like connecting with people and networking, or it's, helping people through drum education, etc. It is my living, which means I do feel the pressure of like, oh, my posts haven't been doing well, or I haven't posted in a week. What am I doing? Or something like that. Or I have this thing coming up and I need to remember to post about it, which is like the hardest thing for an artist to do, is like self-promote. So that's a really weird thing, is to like learn how to do that. I'm still terrible at it. I was talking to a friend of mine at NAMM two months ago, Jessica Bordeaux, fantastic drummer out of Chicago, and we were talking about just how weird it is what we do, and also like she was especially mentioning like how real it is, like what she called creator burnout. And feeling the pressure to work on all this stuff, and then the posts don't do well anyway, but you got to keep doing more, and so the burnout thing is very real. So I was half joking, half serious that we should start a creator support group, for fellow creators and musicians and artists, and I don't know, just help each other work through that, because that's a weird world that's still constantly changing. So I don't really.
And sometimes there are posts that you think, oh, this is gonna go great, and nobody watches it. And some posts that you just put out there, and everybody go, wow, this is amazing.
Yeah, I think my best performing video was it this year or something, or I don't remember. which hit, like 500,000 views or whatever. It took me 10 seconds to make. It took me 10 seconds to make. Now, I knew it was going to be a good one, but I was still kind of ironic. I might spend an hour editing some intricate video and it does nothing. And then the one that takes 10 seconds is actually the one that does well.
Maybe there's a lesson in that.
There's so many lessons in that. Still trying to learn that.
Same here. I feel like, with the algorithm and whatnot on Instagram, it just feels like it's rewarding just whatever's trending, and the stuff that you spend time on sometimes just won't get seen.
There's all that, which is why it's important to I think connect more directly with people, and I mean that online, but just don't worry about it trending towards like a broader audience, but just connect with your people and with your community. And then also diversifying your online presence and not putting all your eggs into the Instagram basket, as they say, like connect to people on other platforms and get to know them directly and have Zoom chats and support each other, other places.
True.
It's important to do that. Because, like your account might tank. and which, that's the thing about like the pressure to post or like, worrying about performance is so weird. But like, I don't know, if my posts don't do well for a month straight or something, I'll be like, well, I'm not going to get any students this way, so I better find like something else. Or people aren't calling me for recordings because no one's seeing my videos to remember that like I do that. So I guess, so it's a combination of, making a living off that as a freelancer. And then, you have to have other systems and networks that you're growing at the same time. You got to water a lot of plants.
I like it.
In fact, you can see in this room back there, I have a green screen and all these other backdrops. I have a whole, softbox LED lighting and cameras and teleprompter, workbench for like all this stuff to create all the education and the courses and various things. I haven't filmed there in a little bit, but getting to that point and doing all that stuff it's an interesting stage to be in terms of like, I have a green screen room and I'm like, for my work, that's, I don't know, it's just like weird where life can take you, and it's just fun and interesting kind of journey to be doing that.
We have to be open and hope for the best.
Yeah.
And never believe we know everything and how things should go.
Exactly. I don't even know what I'm going to be doing next month. Kind of thing. Like, I mean, I have my plans and I'm starting to like, I have to create what I'm going to do next month, kind of, you know what I mean? I'm not like, no one booked me for a tour. So I'm like, well, let me see what I'm going to create, who I'm going to work with, what projects of my own musical projects and various things I'm going to push forward and develop. Cause I don't even know what I'm doing next month, kind of thing. Like, you have to be open to, figuring stuff out on your own, being open to different types of opportunities, especially if you want to be a drummer of some sort.
True. It is true.
I'm going to ask you about practicing. How much importance does pad practice hold for you over drum kit nowadays?
I think it's, for me, still essential, because I want to, and I do a lot of drum set coordination, polyrhythm stuff is a big bulk of my practice, but also that's only important on the kit for me. Like 50% of the time, I'll just tap my legs and feet like to get to do that stuff, because it's really, the instrument is this. It's not the sticks or the drums. So a lot of what I might be working on these days is coordination, rhythm, timing, sense of time, first and foremost. So that is, I don't even need sticks for that. And then when I do, a pad is fine because I'm focused on mechanics, timing, getting things super clean. That's why also, like, I'll be playing on a pad with a pedal and a practice pad for my pedal, because if I'm maybe first I'm working out the limb coordination, mechanics, and timing of that, so my brain can wrap around like these polyrhythms I might be working on or something. But then I want to put that on the kit, and I don't need to put it on the kit. I need to put sticks on my hands and pedals under my feet, because sticks for me are pretty straightforward, but the pedal stuff, if I having my foot depress a pedal to move a beater to impact a drum that's sideways, there's a certain way that you have to get used to that pathway before the note happens. And it's the same with sticks too. But the other thing about pedal work is that I find that the tempo really drastically affects the techniques I have to use. Because if I want to play fast, I'm typically using a slide technique with my foot, which means I need that to be super clean, and I can't practice slide technique. Like, I can tap my foot for coordination. I can go hand, foot, foot. I can just tap my foot, right? But if I want to do that fast with slide technique, I need a pedal to practice the mechanics and get the timing clean. So that's where that comes in. I don't need a kit, but I do need a pedal. And then I do find, as you can say, I could talk about this for 1 hour. Like, I could talk about just this for an hour.
That's fine.
So I do occasionally hear somebody say that, pads are useless. Learn on a drum where you're making the real sound. But I disagree with that, because a pad lets you focus purely on what you're doing, what your hands are doing, what the sticks are doing. And then you can translate that later to a drum that makes more sound. But a pad allows me to just hear the moment of impact, like super, super precisely, without the distraction of how loud the snare drum is. That might be hiding the click a little bit or something like that. And then also I can really practice, for instance, let's say unison strokes. That's a big thing for me right now. Is practicing unison strokes and getting them completely dead on in various combinations. And so a pad is really useful for that, because I can just zero in on focusing only on that.
And I guess also the pad helps with being, as you said, being a sound, a dry sound that doesn't go anywhere. Mm-hmm. Because on the kit, if you play especially a tone, the sound will keep going with the decay and everything. And the pad is, so you concentrate on, let's say, you understand better if you're practicing flams on a pad than you would do on the snare.
Exactly, because it's about that instant moment of the note, and you can have a lot of focus and perception of that, right? Both are absolutely important, and that goes back to our earlier discussion of like e-kit versus acoustic kit. You need to learn to draw the right sounds out of your kit and have complete control over that. So for me, the pad is more important, because like I know how to get a good rim shot, or how to get a good tone out of my tom, or draw various sounds out of my ride cymbal. So I know I'm good there. I'm just trying to focus on cleaning up like my playing or unisons or coordination or something. Is the main thing. And then, also like I'm in an apartment, can't have a kit. So that's what I got. And that's actually why I have the pad. But you know what I've been saying is I want to get an e-kit again to have here. That's actually like high on my list, is to get some sort of electronic kit for the apartment.
Cool.
I would just want to know like who your biggest influence is. One.
One. I can choose one biggest influence.
Or maybe top three.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll give you that.
Let's see. I'll give you. Gosh. Okay. On the drum, if we're talking just drums, because that's what the podcast is about. If I can give you like my top two favorite drummers, I can never pick between these two. Oh, I can never choose a favorite between these two. My favorite drummers are Brian Blade and Keith Carlock.
Cool.
No contest. It's those two above everybody else, but I can't pick between the two ever. They just like it. They when I hear them play, it does something to me.
And and they're quite different. So
Mm-hmm.
you don't need to
Yeah.
pick one.
If they sounded if they were like the same style, I'd be able to like, oh yeah, I like that one better. But no, they're
Yeah,
so
yeah.
different. But there's just something about what both of them have so much depth and emotion they put into their playing, which is huge. Like the amount of conviction that goes into every note, and it shows, and that is something that that really affects me. When I hear them play. I have not heard either of them live, so I really
Wow.
got to do that. I really got to do that.
Yes.
True.
Okay, so where can people find you if they want to learn
Okay.
from you?
Well, I think the first thing, if someone has gotten this far into the episode and they haven't heard of me before, then first find me on social media. I have a lot of stuff on Instagram, education, and other things. My YouTube channel, I mean, all of these are just Dimitri Fantini. My YouTube channel has all the good education stuff, and like I'm putting out tons and tons and tons of really, really good drum lessons there. And then also at dimitrifantini.com, you'll find all the deeper stuff of like technique courses, this drum hub program that I just finished, this 8-week drum hub program. Was it last week? Gosh, it was the first time I did this program. It was a blast, and I'm going to be doing one in a couple years. No, a couple months, and do the next one in a couple months, probably in the winter. And that was a fantastic, fantastic experience with all the students. I already miss them, and so yeah, all that stuff is on my website.
Cool. We're gonna put
Amazing.
links to all of that in the description of the video anyway.
Sounds good to me. Oh, I'm also going to be doing some free monthly Zoom workshops. So they're going to happen about once a month. That's also going to be on my website, and dimitrifantini.com/workshop is where you'll find the rest of that info. And that's going to be like monthly technique workshops and stuff like that.
Cool.
That'll be a lot of fun.
Nice.
All right, thank you so much for your time and everything. We really appreciate you.
Oh,
being
thank
here.
you guys so much for having me. I'm really looking forward to seeing if I sounded good on camera. Sounded good at the end of this.
You already know that.
Yeah.